I'm a singer. My name is Steve Lippia, and I sing big band swing type of music, usually with 10-piece bands, my own 10-piece band. I'm a touring artist. I do about 80 or 100 shows a year, and in great part that happens because of people who attend conferences like this, like PAE on my behalf, as well as the others that we know, the regionals and APAP. And this is the first year I should say, where I came here without showcasing and actually spent time at a booth and got a chance to really see, the kind of hands-on exchange in the marketplace between presenters and agents and agent reps.
Tell us about that, because as you say, it's the first time you experienced it. What struck you as different than you might have expected, or confirmed what you thought you were going to find when you got there?
Well, I had heard a lot through other agents about what happens, and I would always be the person, the artist, who said, so how did it go? Of course, wondering, did we get any bookings? And it's an interesting thing. Some people come here with their sleeves rolled up, their calendars out, and they're starting to pencil in dates. And other people are just sort of laid back and gathering information and just trying to see what's going to work with their programming for the next year or two. And they're more kind of sizing things up, not so much into the let's grab this act A, B, and C. And what I did learn even before I was here was if someone sees you perform at a showcase, it doesn't always lead to them pulling the trigger that year. It could be literally 2 or 3 years later. And when you end up backstage and before the show, they'll often say, you know how I decided or was first kind of interested in your act? And I'll say, no, I really don't know. And they say, it was 2 years ago at APAP or 3 years ago at PAE. And you go, really? So people do kind of remember over time. And then sometimes they get a phone call or a brochure and they go, oh yeah, I saw that. So I realize now, kind of hands-on, that there are people who are ready to make decisions and people who are just kind of trying to get their feel for their year's programming. There's just so much. I think I sympathize more with, or maybe empathize is better, with presenters, because you have these aisles of booths that you're walking down, and how do you even, on an organized way, absorb all that's there? I mean, there are jugglers and magicians and Chinese acrobats and high-speed graphic artists and singers and dancers and a lot of great talent out there. And you have only so many shows to present. And I did notice as the presenters walked down the aisle, we were in the 800s, I call it 8th Street, and as they walked by, they seemed to kind of ignore a lot of booths. I don't know that was an intentional thing, but I think it's just sort of when their brain was ready and something caught their eye, they would stop, or they would maybe have an appointment, but they would stop and look and maybe start to inquire. And you'd want them to stop at your booth, but you're supposed to be respectful and just make eye contact and not harass them, so to speak. But I had a theory that what we should do is lay down those nail strips they do to slow down cars to get some of the presenters to stop by, but nobody would allow it. So I've had a couple of schemes. We performers have a different view because we don't have to live in this world all the time. One of them was I wanted to put up a big poster that said, now appearing naked jugglers, and have a picture of some people with not a lot of clothes on, pixelated in the right places, and people to have presenters come up and say, are you really selling naked jugglers? No, but thanks so much for stopping by. Let me show you the people with clothes on that are really wonderful. But the office just wouldn't go for it.
That's a brilliant idea.
Sometimes you got to think out of the box. And I still haven't given up on it, I want you to know. I'm still thinking there's hope for that. It was nice to kind of see what agents deal with daily, and to watch some other showcases. I've usually been the one on that stage. I would fly in, we would do a quick sound check, 15 minutes, you're supposed to be brilliant, go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, and then leave, and you go, what just happened? And that was my experience of conferences. Maybe shake hands with my agent before I left, and that was it. And now here I was on my feet for a few days, and kind of watching this whole process unfold. And this is really a big part of our business. It really is. This is where people see the frosting of the cake. This is the cake. It really is.
And do you think as an artist that it was important for you to experience a full set of days in the exhibit floor, or would one day as an artist in the booth have been sufficient?
I think one day would help a lot. A full day, where you go to a scheduled event, maybe a brunch or a lunch or something, one of the social events that are usually built into the conferences, and at least 4 or 5 hours of time at the booth, and experience what the agents have to deal with, where all of a sudden there's a rush of people coming up and then there's nothing, and you go, uh-oh, is this going to be worth it? Because it really is kind of to use the word, a crapshoot sometimes. These agents spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 or more if they have multiple attendees from their agency. And I think that artists need to be able to wear the hats of their representatives sometimes and understand. It just enriches the relationship. It puts things in perspective and gives the artist an understanding that they don't just go here and people just hand out contracts like candy. It requires a lot of work and a very, very organized, chaotic event, if I can say both words in one sentence, because it really is kind of, in a way, chaotic of necessity. There's just so much going on. And it's just like learning what a presenter thinks. I think all artists should. I've never really had that exact experience, but I've hung out with some presenters and picked their brains a lot. And every artist should have a deep understanding of what presenters go through. We think that they're just waiting for the phone to ring, and our agent calls, and they go, "Okay, Lippia, let's book him 5 shows, top buck, whenever he would like to come." But, they have to bring their kids to soccer. They get sick. Somebody's got an illness in the family. They've got bad weather. They have budget meetings and things that we don't even know or seemingly care about. It's life, and they'll get 30 or 40 phone calls in a day and 60 emails. So agents have their work cut out. And it's good for artists to really understand that fully, rather than just sort of being the airhead creatives.
When you have showcased, do you, at one conference, do you only do one showcase during the entire conference, or have you ever done possibly the same performance, but at least 2 showcases?
I've done 2. Most times it's 1, and there's always that task of trying to think, months in advance when you're agreeing to this. When's the best time slot? Well, they have the cocktail party at 7. I want to get people as they're coming out of the cocktail party, or before they're going to this, or after dinner. And then you find out, oh God, I forgot the Major League Baseball playoffs are going on. And then, you're SOL, basically. I mean, the other night we had the big debate, the Hillary Clinton-Donald Trump debate, and nobody could have anticipated months ago that 80+ million people were going to be glued to the TV sets, including some of our presenters. So there's that, and sometimes I think artists don't realize. They think, well, I have a great show, and therefore people will show up. Not true. I mean, in this particular PA, it was great because everything was focused on 2 rooms, and the attendance was great. And I kind of wish now, after seeing that I had signed up to showcase. They did a great job of the way they set it up. It really felt like a serious performance venue. And people are kind of captive here because we're on an island on this resort, and there's not a whole lot to do unless you get in a car, and most people took a shuttle. So they were here and they said, what the heck, we'll go see some good talent. But there are other showcase places where, like APAP, there are 1,000 people showcasing each year. 6,000 artists who are being represented by the agents. How do you get seen in the midst of that? So the agent's other job for showcases is to make darn sure that the room is full of buyers, of presenters. And that's easier said than done because of all that's going on.
How long have you been performing?
I started in the late 90s, full-time, 1998. I had been singing sporadically in Connecticut, and then later when I lived in Florida. And I did a lot of other things before this. I went to college, got a bachelor's degree in psychology, a concentration in English literature. I went to law school. I worked as a stockbroker on Wall Street. I started a couple of small businesses, and took a break from music entirely for maybe 6 years. Got back into it, and things started to happen. I had it'd take a lot longer than we have time for on this particular segment, but I had some really lucky breaks, some really very interesting backstory that led me to the point where I thought, maybe I could really do this. Because I think all of us wonder, when you're kind of starting out, not only, am I good enough, but being good enough is not enough. Can I stay busy? Can I pay the bills and enjoy my craft and enough that I can actually make a career of it? And so I found a way with some help and some breaks. We all need multiple breaks in our career, and so I kind of took a left turn and stepped away from my civilian life and pursued the music business. But my first entertainment manager said, "Steve, remember, it's called, the music business." And he says, it's a business. It's the business of music. And if you don't grasp the business part of this, you're going to have a really tough time. It's very critical that you really grasp the full meaning and what that really is like when it plays out in your life, that you have to really maybe 70% of your time has to be dedicated to the business side of music. You're the artist, but an artist stuck in a room somewhere with nobody caring or knowing is just an unknown person. And you have to, a great line that I was told by a guy who's a big-time agent in New York City said, "If you don't appear, you disappear." And there are so many layers of meaning to that. And so as an artist, you have to find a way to get out there, to be seen. And when people see you, it leads to other engagements, and you create a buzz and a momentum.
And perhaps an occasional showcase or two.
Exactly, yeah. And I've found the showcases to be mostly very beneficial. There are times when, you pick the night when there's an ice storm, or there's something going on, like the debates, and you're not sure. But as I say, you usually find out a year or two later that, oh yeah, I saw you. And you had no idea that there was someone in the dark who was making notes and said, I like that, but it's going to be a little while till I can put them into the rotation. So it's a patience, it's a waiting game. You plant seeds now, and if you plant the right seeds and you produce a good product, back to that whole business concept, then people, they will come.